Hey, welcome back to another episode of Rogue Wealth. Today, we're going to talk about something that's super exciting to me. It doesn't make a lot of friends, but the ones that it makes, it keeps them really strong and really close and near and dear. And the idea here is your business is mediocre by choice, not by circumstance, okay? I see it often in family business, in business in general, and really what I want to take the time in today is break down the 5 tiers or that hierarchy that we see in business and how businesses actively choose to bounce around those tiers and what it all looks like. So, why is this important and why are we talking about it today? Look, this whole thing is nothing more than a video game. It's obviously a lot more serious. We're talking about livelihood, we're talking about lives and employees and services and all that. But if you take a step back and take it all less seriously, you could see that there's a couple ways to play the game. You can try to go there and do shortcuts, throw in cheat codes, and figure out how to speed things up or move more quickly, but they don't work. They're not sustainable, okay? What does work is you find out what you're really good at. What is the core service or the product or the offering that you're really good at in your space, and you grind to monopolize it as much as you can and as well as you can. And you can stay there and you can go really deep if you choose, right? If that's the game you decide to play. And it's super important because I believe that a business, whether it's a family business or it's a solopreneur, could be any of these things, it is a living, breathing thing. It's a structure that has multitudes of layers. It requires sunlight. It needs to be watered. It needs attention, care. It needs all of these resources, mainly us human operators that are involved, that give it life and purpose. And you get into these tiers that you can actually strip out. You can see them. And once you see it, this is what's fun about it, is once you see it, you can't unsee it. So here are the 5 tiers of the family business hierarchy: obsolete, struggling, renewal, game changers, and then the apex. Okay? And we're going to jump into each one of them in detail to help you identify where it's at, what you're looking at, what you're looking for, and frankly, to figure out if that's you. First, obsolete. What does that mean? The easiest analogy that I think of is Blockbuster. I mean, at least it was in my lifetime. As soon as Redbox showed up on street corners and in different strip malls, Blockbuster became obsolete. They were still operating, they were still functioning, but if you unpack and look at the crash report of Blockbuster as a business, you can see that it was defined by poor leadership at its core. My favorite analogy on this one is trees die from the top down. And they openly were blind to or even ignorant to the fact that the entire game has changed and they decided to play their own game their way and stick to it, right? And you see departures of A and B players, good employees, good staff start leaving for their competitors. No. A players don't leave for their competitors. A players leave because they're stuck with C and D leaders. There's the problem. And when C and D leaders are running an obsolete business, it's one big dumpster fire of a mess, okay? You see metrics declining, and it could be easy metrics: same-store sales, top-line revenue, revenue growth, profit margins. It could be any of the metrics that the family business either publicly posts with its employees and with its staff, or the ones that they share behind closed doors. And they excuse it, or they miss it, or they stop the cadence of reporting and sharing, even looking at it, right? Like, hey, I know it's bad. I don't want to look at it. Right there, that is obsolescence in full display, okay? And it feels like the business is always about to be liquidated. It just needs that one final push. What's that push? You know, recessions have been known to solve a lot of problems. They flush out a lot of the inefficient players. And what I've seen is whether it's a recession or an outside shock, it could be a pandemic, it could be an interest rate hike, it could be some sort of economic or non-economic outside factor that takes a business that's obsolete, that's running, that's a zombie, and finishes it off. And that's the risk. And I think the biggest piece to take away from that is if you're working in that type of environment to either rise up and take a shot at being a leader and helping change things, or pay attention, the writing's on the wall, find your way out, maybe come back and get ready to buy the scraps, the gems of that obsolete business that might exist. But it could be a lot of things, and the writing tells you this is not the place to be. The second place that we go to is struggling. And when I think about struggling, this is Sully, okay? This is Sully trying to land a plane in LaGuardia, and for a number of breakdowns and situations, he pulls off a life-saving landing in the Hudson. I'm a passenger. I'm not a great swimmer, but all I can think about is I just survived a near plane wreck, okay? We're in the Hudson, and I'm treading water. I'm trying to figure out whatever I can do to get a next bit of air and keep my head above water for just a little longer. In that scenario, there's dysfunction all around. Legal issues, behavioral issues, the ongoing drama, the logistical issues. It could be supply chain. It could be vendors. It could be broken parts. It could be broken software. It could be the owner-operator trying to resolve an internet connectivity issue from a router that was 10 years old. It's a lot of these things that manifest. That dysfunction's everywhere, and the distractions that show up, that random, hey, let's go play a round of golf on a Tuesday afternoon. It's partaking in the luxuries that we can because we're struggling, but we still have enough to be able to kind of bury the bodies and go off. Let's go have fun. Let's go take out our vendors. Let's take the team out, go for an offsite. But it's not focusing and pinpointing on the things. What can you do right now to get a big gasp of air and take the next step forward? Just stuck in struggling. The next tier that we see show up is renewal. What's renewal? Renewal's fun to me because there's stability there, right? It's the top of the bell curve. It's where a lot of the businesses sit. It's your New Year's resolution people, okay? It's the ones that in November and December, they're like thinking about things. I got to lose 5 pounds. I want to quit this. I want to start doing this. I'm going to start on the 1st or maybe the 2nd if, the 1st is a Saturday night. I'll wait. But, believe me, next year, I'm going to be great. My New Year's resolutions, I'm going to be a new person. The renewal businesses are that, okay? They operate off of legacy. They have a lot of anchors and handlebars, and they're in tune with their legacy. They're aware of tech. They're aware of the opportunities. They're aware of operational issues and what could be fixed. But maybe they don't want to let Betty Sue the bookkeeper go because she's been around forever, and the way she does things is just right. You're open to consideration. You're open to considering innovation. Staffing is relatively appropriate. Again, even though there's some legacy goblins and monsters in the closet, all of those things are functioning. There's opportunities to deploy and implement things, but because you're doing that whole New Year's resolution thing, you're going to show up, you're going to get the membership, go for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then run into a point where, gosh, this soreness, I'm tired, not sleeping enough. Why don't we just go back to the way things were? I'm not comfortable with change. And that's the definition of the tier in renewal, is there's enough stability, there's enough comfort that you don't want to go through the pain, which is the investment, to get to a better, more positive outcome for the organization. Game changers. Game changers are the most fun to watch and work with. What's up with game changers? What are they doing? Well, they're the renewal group, but they don't care if it's a Monday or the next quarter or the new year. They're always in the space of, hey, we have stability. We have opportunities. We have core businesses that don't need to be disrupted. Game changers take their core business as the fuel to fund their game changer, to fund the thing that's going to move the needle that they believe is going to move the needle for the family business, for the family, for the next generation, okay? They're not afraid to rock the boat. And game changers seek out opportunities to refine their core business and also to replace their core businesses with what they think the future is. They're not afraid to be purpose and growth focused. They're not afraid of the pain or the loss of revenue that's incremental or the loss of business that shows up when you shift these gears. That's just a normal thing. And sometimes it's intentional, and sometimes it's just by the design. Core business could just be paying attention and say, hey, you know what? You're not on point the way you were, right? Or you can come back and say, hey, we're going to be increasing our fees or changing our terms or changing our conditions of providing support. And if you don't like it, I understand. We can help you find another relationship to replace this. We work with a lot of partners in the industry, competitors that'd be happy to take your business. But you basically quarter horse them out to greener pastures for them because you're growing. Game changers do this very well. Things are working, but we're not afraid of taking risks for the sake of innovation and better improvement. And the piece that comes to mind for me is, and I see this all the time, we are risk avoiding creatures. That's what's gotten us this far to survive as long as we have. But in the modern world today, with screens and phones and everything kind of digitized, we happen to overestimate risk and underestimate opportunities. In the earlier tiers, this concept paralyzes them, but for game changers, it gives them life. Because they see a risk and they embrace it, and they know that the outcomes, even if they're bad outcomes, they can still go back to their core stability to regroup, refocus, and go back at it again. And this is that flywheel that gives them adaptability. And it's everybody's on board, everybody's in on the vision, everybody fuels it. It gives everybody life. All right, tier 5 of the video game. Apex. What's the Apex family business? While we're all trying to train for marathons or half Ironmans that are convenient, that we can just get to and just finish, okay, I'm signing up for an Ironman, I just want to finish it. Apex family businesses, they go for the pro level. They get invited to the Ironman in Hawaii or in some other remote place, and they're showing up to rank professionally and compete professionally. These players are the ones, the biggest one is that they're laser focused, okay? The entire team is aligned and they're extremely calculated, and their goals and communication is all dialed in. They know, these Apex businesses know, when they take on a new initiative or a new goal, they can sit down and see forward out of the windshield far enough to be able to calculate what their payoffs are, when to expect the pain point, when to expect the return on investment or other metrics to improve, how to get through them. And they can manipulate, guide, and assign people to all of these different steps. So the operator or the ownership group doesn't have to say, okay, I need to go from this role to this role, or I need to make this acquisition or figure this out. It's all that living, breathing organization is on its own. It is not dependent on any one person or group of people. It's all functioning well. And you can kind of think through, if you were to look at family businesses, and if you pay attention to the news media, the large family-run enterprises that have a rogue family member that goes off and says something obscene or does something crazy, the business continues going. There's a clear separation between the functioning of the business and the person in the individual's behavior. Those are Apex businesses, okay? Those are the ones that the business runs on its own. You can remove the family owner operator in that whole group. They're basically shareholders and share people of the organization. Everyone, whether it's the employees, if they're owners of the co-owners of the organization, everybody knows their marching orders, who does what by when. There are no surprises. It's all coordinated and well orchestrated. They're tech forward, high margins that they protect are at play. They do very well. They're fierce competitors in the marketplace. They're a great championship contender for the game changers that show up and bump up against them. and they understand the hierarchy and where they sit, and they know when to play and when not to play. That's the big differentiator. They won't show up into certain venues because they know that, hey, we're either too good or we're not good enough here to deploy our resources. We'll go somewhere else. I've got a quick story for you about what I call my Steel brothers. Okay. And the Steel brothers, I see them a couple times a year, and we basically meet in one of their offices in one of their facilities. They do business throughout the Midwest, a bunch of facilities, third generation now. And the brothers, there's two brothers, and they run this business. One's the brains, the other one's the brawn, but they do a lot of decision making together. The rest of the family's just shareholders. They like their dividends, they like their distributions, and they don't want any decisions. Okay. We were at a meeting talking about market stuff and different things, succession planning, yada, 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 all that kind of stuff that I talk about. And it was an interesting room because there's this long desk with a bunch of folders, different color folders, green folders, blue folders, yellow folders, red folders. And one brother is talking to me. The other brother runs in with a couple folders. He's like, hey, we got this, and this to pick out from. And I'm like, what's going on here? And they basically break it down that they do business on time and price. And certain folders are price sensitive. Other folders are time sensitive. And I'm like, this is crazy. Why don't we just get rid of all the price sensitive folders and just focus on our time folders? You remove all of the distraction and the running around like you just came into this office. We had a nice peaceful conversation here. You run in talking about this folder and that folder. If we only had time folders, then all of a sudden you dictate the entire game. And this is rule number 3 of Rogue Wealth. This is a contact sport. Play the game on your terms because nobody's going to come and bail you out. Nobody's going to come and save us. And my Steel brothers were so caught up because of the third generation business. They were sitting in that renewal tier. It was stable, but the fires were always bouncing around. Hey, we need to take staff off of time projects because of price projects, or vice versa, right? And then putting the time projects at risk or putting the price projects at risk. The question was really easy. If we're looking at all this and you're going to keep going through this generation after generation, week after week, day after day between the brothers, you guys are stuck in Groundhog Day. That's literally my words. You're stuck in Groundhog Day, and the solution's really easy. Don't worry about the disruption, because if you get rid of your price business and this whole thing doesn't work out, guess what? You can go back in the price business. They never thought of growing the business through applying subtraction. And the moment they decided together, I left the room, went on my merry day. They literally spent the next quarter or two in going through subtraction, shifting their price business, their price sensitive business to their competitors in the market, feeding them, and taking their time projects, the ones that show up and say, hey, I need X done by next Thursday. They don't care how much it costs. They literally want it done by Thursday. And these guys, the Steel brothers now, they issue the invoice at delivery on Thursday. The client or their customers don't care about price. They've reformulated their entire business just on that. I haven't seen them happier. I haven't seen them more profitable. I haven't seen them hire more, faster, better people because they can pay well. The margins are good. The money's great. The terms are great. And everybody understands that every job is a priority, and that's what they get paid for. And that level of thinking and those methods had elevated them from renewal into game changers. And I haven't seen them happier and more better off. Oh, and the rest of the family members, the dividend and distribution takers with no decisions, they're making more money than they ever have. Everybody's happy. And so there's a lot of stuff, as always, that I'm sitting here with and giving you. Here are my key takeaways on this. Number 1, growth solves all problems. It's not guaranteed, But if you're stuck and you're facing some sort of challenge or some sort of breakdown over and over and over, it could be portfolio related thought process, it could be a tax issue, it could be a real estate issue, it could be anything that's going on in the complexity of the business. Apply action and growth as a method to solve that problem. You don't have a guarantee that you'll solve it directly, but you'll make more progress and you'll work better to eliminate the problem that's causing. And the world around you, the community, your staff members, everybody, the whole ecosystem will recognize that you're action and growth oriented, and they will reward you with it. New doors will open, new opportunities will open. My steel mill guys, the brothers, the moment they made it known to the market they're no longer taking on price projects, they're only time sensitive, their backlog ballooned. People were lining up to get jobs done ASAP, and they were standing in line. Just think about that. It's an emergency right now. I need it right now, but I'll get in line and wait for you to be available to take care of it for me. That's a massive shift. And for the sake of the family business and its future, the legacy that the family's trying to carry out and live on, and everybody involved, it's important to capture those opportunities and grow to ultimately strengthen everything that we have here. And it doesn't come more magically than it does in a family business because of all the different people and everybody else involved. So we covered the 5 tiers in the hierarchy. Take a moment, take a breath, and be honest with yourself. There's no wrong answer. Where do you think you sit? Is it obsolete? Is it struggling? Is it renewal? Are you a game changer? Are you an apex? And reflect on where you'd like to go, where you'd like to be. The reality is it's one phone call or a conversation that could be the action step to fix and resolve and focus on the breakdowns that are holding you back to get to the next level. The people and the team are there to help when you're ready. You need to make that decision. And if that's a decision that you're open to make, I'm happy to have the conversation. We spend some time together and then take it from there. Otherwise, I'll see you back on the next episode of Rogue Wealth.